Okay, can anyone hear us now?
Yes.
Yep, looks like we're good.
Oh,
Awesome.
good. All right. Well, geez. I greatly apologize for that. Okay, so here is the thing. If we get back to this game here, the thing is, um, we have to get Karu's character Marcel to the island.
It's true. I'm on the ship, aren't I?
You are on the ship, but I think probably what happened is they have been gone long enough that maybe you are um, worried about them. So the question is, do the other three of you want to send a signal of some sort, or do you want to go back to the boat to get Marcel, or how do you want to deal with that?
Uh,
What's the distance from, I guess, where the island we're on back to the boat versus to the where the place where the standing stones are?
I think, if I remember correctly, it took you about 30 minutes to row from the ship to the shore.
Okay.
And you guys were heading to investigate the
the
standing
standing
So,
stones.
stones. Yeah.
so the current position right now is actually Khonnos is standing on the partially ruined wall of a building and looking to the north to an island that is at a slightly lower elevation than the island that they're on. And he is looking at a set of excuse me, at 10 a set of 10 standing stones, and they are made of some sort of dark stone, and they appear to have a sort of white cap on them. And on the top of the standing stones, there is an inscription that cannot be read from the distance that everyone is at right now. And there are a few figures in white robes in the center of that standing stone setup. So there are 10 standing stones making roughly a circle, and the diameter of that is probably 20 to 25, maybe even 30 feet. It's hard to tell from this distance. So it's a relatively large circle, and these stones are relatively large, but the intricacy of the etchings and whatnot are hard to see from where you are. But there are definitely figures in white robes. They look very similar to the figure in the white robe that Axley saw when he first walked up. He saw the figure in the white robe who was leaning over something, and then a few moments later, he saw that it was a fish. And then that fish, he caused an illusion to make that fish flop out of the creature's hands, and it sort of made a noise of some sort. It expressed an emotion of frustration or anger or fear or just resignation that nothing can go right. And when it put its arms out, Axley saw that it had crab claws instead of hands, human hands. And then he went back to the group. That figure was wearing white robes, and the group of figures that Khonnos is currently looking at are wearing very similar white robes.
And how many figures are there that they saw?
Right now, Khonnos is looking at 4 figures in white robes.
Konos, can you see which side of that island would be best for us to approach, which would give us the most cover or ability to sneak up?
Yeah. Do I see a good way to approach without being seen?
Well, you could all approach. The question is, do you want to go get Marcel first? Because you saw inscriptions on the top of the standing stones, and you saw that there is an etching in the middle of that area between the standing stones.
Well, we'll have to take the boat over to the other island anyway, right? We're going to need the boat. So
So
it'd probably be best to
the
just go back to the boat.
the island is not that far. You know, the two islands are so close together, you thought they were one island as you came up on them, remember? So it's not as if you have to hop in the boat and go 10 minutes to get to the northern island. It's only, you know, the sort of stream area that separates the two islands is only about 10 feet. You could probably walk across it.
But if the area that joins the two islands is more of a gentle slope, maybe it's better to go around the back side of the island if it's steeper, because that'll give us more cover as we approach, in which case the boat will be the best option. Then we can go back to the ship to get Marcel.
Mhm.
I mean, to be fair, I can also swim pretty fast because I am a Lutrinian. So if you guys signal me, I can
I was gonna say, can we
kind of
send
meet
us-
halfway so we don't spend that much time.
I could also send my familiar to swim back to the boat and bring Marcel and indicate Marcel needs to come to that island. I don't know if that will be faster than us rowing back to the ship or not.
What's the swim speed?
I have a go on.
30 feet normal, 60 feet dashing.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think it would probably take Otto maybe 10 minutes to get back to the ship.
Okay, why don't we do that? And then we can scout ahead and either scout ahead or try to make a stealthy approach and do a little advanced, get a little advanced information while we wait for Marcel to come.
Okay. Marcel, I'm assuming you have seen Otto, his familiar.
Yes, he was with Otto when we first met at the tavern because he had him in a bucket.
Yeah.
I was also going to ask because Marcel has the ability to talk with small creatures. Would this familiar be considered a small, like, natural creature, even though he's also a familiar? Like, would I be able to understand octopus? Like, does he speak octopus?
Does he speak octopus?
Good question. It's I mean, it's a beast and a fey type, so it doesn't have any spoken languages.
But it is a beast.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, because the thing I do is I can speak to small and smaller beasts.
Okay.
In their, like, beast language.
And it is small, so that would work. And I was just gonna say, like, have it point, or like tug on you and say point towards that island. So
I think that probably Marcel would have no problem whatsoever understanding, provided they recognized Otto, they would have no
Yeah.
problem understanding what was being said.
right.
I love that Lutrinian ability, by the way.
Yeah.
I think for the future, we need to work out a signal, right? So that we can very easily.
I was thinking the same
communicate
thing.
with the ship.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, in this case, it's okay because I can understand Otto, and he's like, "Hey, the guys need your help," and I'm like, "Okay, let's go."
Yeah. So in the meantime, I will basically go to the shore, open the bucket, and tip the octopus into the water, and I will say, go swim back to the boat as fast as you can. Get the otter folk, the Lutrinian Marcel, and tell them that they need to come to that other island and meet us there as fast as they can. Go fast and be careful.
Okay, so
Right.
so that was a lot of detail for Otto. But I feel like Otto can probably relay that information with no problem. So let's fast forward and let's find out how what the three of you are going to do before Marcel arrives.
Which is what, about 20 minutes?
Give or take, yeah, 20, 30 minutes. Depends on how far Otto has to go to relay the message, in terms of getting the point across. But that leaves 30 minutes for you, trying to bide your time, right? So the question is, what are you going to do for that 30 minutes?
I
Well, we
think
could start.
Sorry, go ahead.
I thought we could maybe just start heading back towards the beach where we'll meet them, right? Because Otto's got a scamper, like a direct line. How is he going? A direct line back to the ocean and then to the ship?
Yeah, just the fastest, most direct path possible.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so we could just follow his trail on the sand, and that way we'd be closer to the point in which they arrive on the shore.
So you're only
Unless there's
about
something you guys want to do here. I don't know if we've completely exhausted everything we wanted to examine at this ruin.
you're only about 300 feet from the beach, remember? So, I mean, these islands are tiny, relatively speaking. So you're 300 feet from the beach, and the beach is only about, 50, 60 feet wide. So, Otto is going to have an easy time just getting right back to the ocean. But if you just walk right down on the beach, you are possibly risking some of those creatures on the other island seeing you.
But
So,
Marcel also doesn't know that those creatures are there, right? So
Right.
correct.
we want to make sure that
Right.
that there's not an ambush or an accidental encounter.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I also want to scout out like what they're doing though, because if they're performing some kind of ritual to I'm worried that they're going to summon a giant crab, quite honestly, and we're going to have to fight said giant crab. So I would maybe one of us stays on the beach to guide Marcel when they get there, and the other two go to scout out the ritual.
Okay. If we want to send one person to scout, maybe we send one person to scout, and I can cast invisibility so they can go unseen and see what they're doing.
I like that.
How long does that last?
I believe an hour. Check. 1 hour.
Oh, that's a good long time. Okay.
Yeah.
I have pretty good stealth too.
I don't. On the beach it is.
So here's what I'm trying to get across. Let me paint the scene for you a little bit closer to what your characters are experiencing. There are two small islands. There's a 10-foot gap separating them. Of course, that gap is filled with ocean water. Okay. The northern island is the one that has the standing stones on it, and the island from the gap, from the edge of the gap, I should say, to where those standing stones are is only about 50 or 60 feet. So those standing stones are really close to the river between the gap between the two islands. And then that
Okay.
island extends probably several hundred feet beyond that in the easterly and westerly directions and in the northerly direction. Okay. So
And do
right
we
now
know what time of
so let me
what time
finish
of
the
day
whole
the
thing.
tide is?
Let me finish the
Okay.
whole thing. So the island that you're on is south of that island. Okay. The island that you're on is also relatively small, but it probably extends several hundred feet behind you to the south. The buildings that you're standing in are only 50 or are only 300 feet from the beach where the river portion, where the river separating the two islands is at. You came in at an angle So you didn't come directly through the middle portion between the two islands. You stopped on the northeastern corner of the southern island. And then you came up
Okay.
to the buildings.
Okay.
So does that make it a little more clear? So if you go down to the beach where your little boat is, if you're not stealthy at all, it's possible you will get seen by the people that are standing by the standing stones. Now, they might not
Gotcha.
be able to even tell what you are. They're far enough away that they might not be able to see details, but they might see movement.
Okay.
Okay.
Are the standing stones at like water level, or is it
The
higher up?
both islands have a beach at water level, and then there's about a 10-foot slow slope. So it's not a cliff, it's a slope that it changes in elevation 10 feet up, and it probably takes 20 feet to get that 10 feet up. So it's a kind of a dune, kind of sand duney.
So they're basically on top of like a dune at more or less the edge of the southern end of the North Island.
They right now they are, yes, the standing stones, that is where they are. Yes. The group of you, other than Marcel, is on the northern part of the southern island, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But we don't
So
want to get discovered if we don't have to.
yeah, so I guess my point that I'm trying to make, I'm trying to give you a good sort of mental picture of what's happening. Everybody is going to have to roll stealth if they want to.
I was gonna say that's the point
Yeah.
you're trying to get
Yeah.
across.
That's what I'm trying to
I'm
get
gonna
at,
have to be
right?
stealthy.
Mhm.
Question is, do you want to be invisible?
Me?
Yes, or
You can-
anybody.
Ooh, that might be helpful, quite honestly. Let's see. I mean, I
Or we
don't
just
think we have a whole lot of other options.
or we just stay put until Marcel gets here, right? And then we're gonna have to approach the standing stones using stealth at some point.
Yeah, can Khonnos just climb back up and kind of watch from there, and we can kind of just keep lookout
Sure.
until Marcel gets there, and then we don't have to really worry about alerting anybody or anything.
Okay.
Yeah, if that's what you want to do, that's fine.
Yeah, I can do that.
I think Axley's concern was that Marcel doesn't know what the situation is, other than that you guys
Right.
are in trouble.
Yeah.
So if you're all at the
But-
building, Marcel might not necessarily know that, and
I'm
might,
basically following the octopus, to be fair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
true.
Yeah. Well, I can stay up here. How about I stay up here and I'll keep a lookout. And the rest and the other two, the other two, either make back to the beach or try to find a place closer to try to be unseen. And then
Okay,
once
and
Marcel arrives, we can meet back up and go from there.
Yeah, and I have faith that Marcel can handle stealth if need be. I mean, and you can see up there if we need to assist if there's a problem.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay.
I did super well last time.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
I think just stay put probably is the best thing, man. So then we don't risk being discovered.
okay,
Plus, I can keep an eye on the figures in the standing stones, and if I see them getting up to anything, I can send out an alert or say, "Hey, we need to go now."
That's what I'm worried about.
okay. So let me make sure I understand this correctly. Otto's swimming back to the boat to get Marcel. They are
Yes.
going to come this way toward the island. Meanwhile, Khonnos is still standing on top of the wall of the ruins and keeping watch on the standing stones.
And I know you said it was kind of like a partially collapsed wall, but if there's any
Mhm.
way to kind of use cover or keep out of sight, I'll try to do that.
Okay. And what are Imran and Axley doing then?
Keeping watch just to make sure no figures or crabs approach
Okay.
from the bottom.
All right. So everyone can roll me a perception check, and except for Marcel, who can roll me a stealth check.
10. perception?
What is my perception? 8.
15 stealth.
I'm going to use the bardic inspiration I had from last session for this, because otherwise it's probably going to go away.
Okay.
So I have a 16 perception.
Okay.
I have a 21 total.
Okay. And Imran, what did you get for your perception?
8.
Okay. And Marcel, what was Marcel's stealth?
15.
Okay.
I'm still spinning that fork in my fingers, just like staring at it.
Mm-hmm. A couple of things. So while you're waiting for the 20 or 25 minutes or so, Khonnos sees another figure join the 4 figures that were in the standing stones. And that figure is, they all still basically have their backs to you, so you have not seen their faces or anything like that. And they're all still holding hands, but their robes are draped over their hands, so you don't actually know if they have human hands or crab claws. You still can't tell from this distance, and they haven't moved enough to give that information away. But you do see that a 5th creature, 5th individual has joined and is speaking to each one of them as they walked into the standing stones. They sort of stopped and they were speaking a few words to each one of the other 4 figures that were already there. So there are now 5 figures in there.
Okay.
Axley, you notice that there are also 4 to 6 crabs moving around on the beach, on top of the dunes on the other sides. They're not inside the perimeter of the standing stones, but they are around it. They do not appear to be approaching the stones or bothering the creatures that are inside, but they are there. And Imran, you actually, since you were so focused on that crab fork that you have, you notice that it has a name on it, or, well, it has a word on it. It sounds like a name. You're not sure exactly what it is, but the words that it has on it is Ian Tarsus, which is spelled IENTARSUS. It's etched right into one of the sort of handle part, right in front of, or right before the contraption creates this sort of crab claw kind of fork structure.
Okay.
Okay, and then Marcel shows up. And what was your stealth roll? 15?
15. Also, before I jumped into the water, I am casting mage armor on myself.
Okay. Do you know what the duration of that is?
8 hours.
Okay. Okay. Otto leads you a fair bit down the South Island before he sort of motions for you to go on shore. And so the question I have is, are you going to pick up Otto and carry him with you once you leave the water, or are you going to let him go across?
Absolutely. I'll put him on my head. I'm like, okay, hop on. Just point the way.
There must be fan art of this.
Okay, well, that's perfect. Okay, so you Khonnos at least sees Marcel, and also Axley also sees Marcel come up sort of from the south up the dune.
Okay.
So Marcel is approaching from a direction that you guys did not come from before. You sort of came from the northern and you arced around to get to the buildings. And Marcel is coming from the south and then finally reaches your building. Marcel, what you see is a ruined structure that had two sort of main rooms, almost catty-corner to each other, but they are so old and dilapidated that the walls that were made of stone have crumbled on almost all the corners are basically gone. Some of the walls are in half. They've crumbled so much. They're the room that your comrades are standing in is about 20 feet by 20 feet, almost an exact square, but it has debris all over the floor, and you can see that there were wooden stairs leading up to a second floor that is no longer there, and those stairs have rotted away. Khonnos is standing in a windowsill that would have been a window on the second floor. But there is no second floor. All of that is basically gone. You also see three crab-shaped creatures, almost as if they were deflated, and they're laying on the ground. And then you see a fourth one, and it is basically a thin husk of a crab shape, and all in a pool around it is this nasty jelly-like substance that it's pretty obvious to you came out of that creature. And then you see Imran and Axley standing, keeping watch, and Khonnos standing up on that second floor window.
Ah, good, Marcel, you made it. Oh, in quick time too. And there's something different about you. Did you change your hair?
Yeah, I'm trying out this new look.
Very nautical.
I'll climb down and join everybody else and say, well, thank you for bringing him back, and I'll snap my fingers and he'll reappear back in the bucket.
Nice.
It looks like there may be a ritual preparing to occur on the island or something, but there's reinforcements. Looks like another figure has joined, and there are now crabs on the shore.
Could that be related to summoning more of these crab things?
I would hazard to guess. Don't poke them, by the way. Don't do that. Yeah, I want to hear what they're saying. I want to hear if this is anything relating to what we already know about the Blue Plateau and what we've learned. I want to see what the scrawling is on these pillars as well, so we can see what's actually going on. So I think we need to get a closer look.
Okay, what's the best way to approach without drawing attention to ourselves?
It's a really good question.
Well, I think the three of us have decent stealth. Is that right? And then Emmerin, we can help her out maybe with a spell.
Fair enough.
Yeah, because if they're already working on some kind of ritual, we can't really stay for too long. Because I think if we try going around the long way, it's going to take us like another half an hour to do that. We
and hopefully
might not have that time.
Yeah, and if they're preparing for ritual, hopefully their attention will be focused not on us as we approach. It might give us a
they might.
advantage.
Crabs might be more alert.
Yeah, they seem to be there for guard duty, I think.
One thing we could do, and I know it's probably not a good idea to split up, but Marcel and I could try to maybe swim around and come in from another way while Axley and Emmerin try to go the land route.
Well, are you good at swimming?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. That's a possibility.
I think that's fair. However, can we backtrack for a second? What's our main goal here? Aren't we supposed to be getting like a giant crab head?
Yeah, we were supposed to find and kill the giant crab that Olgret had told us about. So,
Right.
ironically, when you were saying you were worried about them summoning a giant crab, that's exactly the thing we're here for.
I know, that's kind of what I'm wondering, if we should wait to see what they're actually doing before we interrupt or risk interrupting.
Maybe, but if they do summon anything or more help, it is going to be harder for us to take down. And if it happens that we stop them from doing the thing, we can always take these things back and say, hey, we cleared the
think-
islands. This is the only thing we found, assuming
gonna
we don't
s-
find more.
True. Do you think that'll be enough for Olgret to waive our fees, though? We're trying to get out of here.
Assuming we can convince him that we've managed to stop whatever's happening on this island, I think that would be fine. It might take more than just taking out these. We will have to discover what else there is to the north end of the island, of the second island.
Yes, very
And
true.
I don't think we've explored the other island, the South Island, all the way either.
Okay.
My concern is if we let them continue with this ritual, things might get out of hand and we won't be able to take down whatever happens.
Right.
What's the best way to interfere with the ritual in progress? Just attack those who are causing it?
Break their concentration. You said they were holding hands.
The 4 of them are holding hands, and the 5th one that entered came in and spoke to each of them.
I would say make them stop holding hands. That might disrupt the ritual, whatever that is.
Do you
Which
think
means
we
we have to
can,
get
like,
pretty close.
can we cast another sleep spell on the crabs and then interrupt the ritual after that?
We could do that, yeah.
I say that's our best approach.
The tablets we've got, do those talk about like how the ritual is performed or how many people it needs to pull it off?
Yeah, I mean, Axley looked at those coral tablets, and it was pictograms showing how to perform a ritual. You don't know if it's the same ritual that these people are performing.
Okay.
I also have one idea, because this seemed to work last time. I have dancing lights.
That's
I can make
Oh,
glowing, floating lights to distract the crabs, to either make them run away or towards the lights to figure out what it is, so we can get them away from the main group. And that way they'll be concentrating on something other than us and give us maybe an advantage on sneaking up on them.
that might work. Do you think your dancing lights would have the same effect on the robed figures if they are less than human?
They're just dancing lights, so I don't think it's going to necessarily distract them more than, hey, something's going on.
Okay. Fair enough.
But when
Okay.
I used the dancing lights on the things we saw on the beach, they just turned tail and ran.
Right.
So there's 2 options there. They'll either go investigate the lights or they'll run away from the lights, which might make it a bit difficult to where to position the lights, depending on where we want them to go. But at least it'll distract them away from where they're currently at. And I can do that in 120 feet away. So.
All right. So, Axley, you and I stealth from the ground, and Khonnos and Marcel take to the sea and try and sneak around that way.
Okay, that sounds good. And then the invisibility would probably be good to cast on Emerin for the stealth.
Okay.
Yes.
I will
So,
do so.
okay. So I know that Axley cast a spell last time. Was that a cantrip that you cast? I can't remember.
One was a cantrip, and then I cast the sleep, which was a level 1.
Okay. So how many spell slots do you have?
I have remaining 2 level 1s and 2 level 2.
Okay. And Khonnos, you did not cast a spell last time, correct?
Actually, I think I had cast Armor of Agathis right before. It's right at the end of the session when it seemed like we were going to be
that's
headed
right.
towards the Sanding Stones. So that's one. I'm using my second one now to turn Emerin invisible.
Now, how long is Armor of Agathis active?
It's active for an hour, and I know we had been
Okay.
essentially waiting about a half hour for
Yeah.
Marcel
Yep.
to get
It's
to us.
it's still
that might
active.
still
That's
have
fine.
some time. Okay.
Yep.
So yeah, so I'll cast invisibility on Emerin, and when I do so, essentially she just becomes like perfect camouflage for any surface that she's on or near.
That's weird.
Now, anything that you drop, Imran, suddenly becomes visible.
Hey,
So if you accidentally drop something or you throw something, that item is visible once it's no longer touching you. And as soon as you make an attack, your invisibility ends.
got it. Okay. I'm gonna like tuck the fork in my pockets and make sure everything's like not gonna fall off.
Okay.
Does
Now,
she leave footprints in the sand when she's invisible?
Yeah,
Yeah.
she'll still leave footprints. She'll still make noise. It's just she can't be seen.
Mhm.
Okay.
So a
Still helpful.
creature with blind sight would recognize her or with tremor sense would probably recognize her walking up. Wouldn't
Absolutely.
actually see her still, but they would know that something is there, and something with true sight would also see her.
Mhm.
So
Okay.
no one is expecting these crabs to have true sight, so you know.
We're
So
in bigger trouble if they can.
Yeah.
so um so Khonnos and Marcel, you're gonna go into the sea. How are you gonna come up upon the standing stones?
I was planning on. I was thinking we could just circle around a little bit, kind of behind them, while Axley and Emerin take the more direct head-on approach.
Okay.
Does that sound good? Kara?
Yeah,
How are
I just
the
didn't know if you had
crabs
some.
around?
Go ahead. Sorry.
How are the crabs located around the ritual site?
They appear to be sort of milling around in the northwest sort of area. The standing stones make a rough circle or almost an oval, and they are kind of in the northwest area above that or north of that. So they're not.
Right.
They're probably 20 feet from that topmost stone.
All right, so they're on the opposite end of the ritual happening from where we're approaching.
Correct.
I would suggest we go from the east at least, so we're farthest from that group, and basically just swim out just a bit to get to like kind of same level as where the ritual is happening, and then come that from the east towards the ritual site.
Okay. So you're both going to come from the east, or one of you from the east and one from the west?
Yeah, no, I'd say we go together. I don't
Yeah,
think we need to
say
split
go
each
together.
other that much.
Yeah.
Okay. And so Axley, what are you doing? Are you going to try to stealthily sneak across? Are you going to go head on, or what are you planning on?
Yeah, I think we should favor more towards the side that they're swimming up, so we'll be closer to them.
Okay. And Imran, you're just going to kind of follow Axley
Yep.
since he can't follow you.
Fair
At least I'll
enough.
be able to see she's there because of the footsteps.
Okay. So I need a stealth roll from everyone.
Moment of truth,
Okay.
guys.
Can I give Emerin another bardic inspiration die if she
Uh,
doesn't have hers
I
anymore?
think she still has one left. I
She
don't
still
think
has
she
it?
used
Okay.
it.
Do I?
Those
Because I
last
rolled a
10
2.
minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those last 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh,
then
that's
probably
true.
not.
They last 10 minutes. So you guys waited for Marcel 30 minutes.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
can give her another one.
When you do that, how are you doing it? Are you going to play a song?
Yeah. Just I'll do just a really low key flute song.
Okay. Okay. You're going to make your stealth check with disadvantage
Okay.
because
Do I get it?
I'm mean.
Do Marcel and I get any kind of advantage for being underwater when we're swimming?
Your stealth check is for when you're out of the water, when you
Okay.
come out of the water,
Okay.
but when you're in the water, they will not see you.
Okay.
They're
Well, that's an 8. Well, that's an 8 on stealth. So
oh,
not a
great.
good start.
Okay.
I got a 17.
Excellent.
Okay.
Well, I got a 1 the first time around, but the second time around I got a 7.
A little
It's
better.
not going well, guys.
And what is disadvantage? It means I roll.
You
Me-
roll twice and take the
I take
lower
the
of the
lower.
two.
You roll 2d20 and then you take the low one and then you add your modifier.
Okay. So First roll is 11. Next one is a 6.
Hmm.
So let's see. Plus my modifier. So 12 total.
We're gonna be rolling initiative here soon.
Best of intentions overall.
Yep.
Well, that answers the question of how you disrupt a ritual.
Make a lot of noise.
Apparently.
All your stealth rolls.
Yeah.
So lucky for you guys, your DM rolled a 1.
Oh,
Nice.
Oh my god.
Big
They're
ol' one.
really, they're really concentrated on the ritual.
They are. They are. So you don't know I rolled a 1, but you also always just assume that you are being as stealthy as possible. So Khonnos and Marcel go into the water and swim up a little bit and then come out of the water. Imran is completely invisible, and Axley is trying to kind of sneak around. And so, Axley, how good of a swimmer are you? Because you have to swim that 10-foot ocean span between the two islands.
what would determine that?
I was just asking, like, how good. Yeah, I mean, there's real no determination. I mean, everybody kind of knows how to swim in 5th edition.
Sure.
But it's more of how you think how well a swimmer you think Axley would be.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think he would be an expert swimmer by any means, but I think he would be able to, jump in the water without fear, being able
Okay.
to tread and move around at a decent pace.
Okay. And he's wearing leather armor?
Yes.
Okay. And then Imran, you have a problem because you're wearing scale mail.
Oh gosh.
How deep is the 10-foot?
It's ocean. You can walk out. You're walking. It's like walking off of a beach. But you don't know if it's going to actually be fully.
Might drop out underneath us.
Yeah. So you have a
Well,
choice to
I
make.
could go forward and first and test how deep it is.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably a good idea.
Okay. So Axley goes first.
Yeah.
It is at the deepest only 12 feet deep.
Oh.
So it's not too bad. But there is a pretty swift current, actually, because it is part of the ocean. So you still have to make a choice whether you're going to leave your armor on or take it off.
Well, what if I go across, I ford it first, and then with a rope, she can hold onto the rope and pull herself across, leaping from the bottom. She could probably jump across that deepest part.
So, I mean, it's more about the metal weighing her down. I don't know I mean, I suppose you could probably find a rock to secure a rope to.
Or if I just held it.
I'm not sure
tugging and pulled.
if you just held it. Okay, you can do that. Then we're talking about a strength check for you.
I was gonna say, I think I'm just gonna wing it. I'm just gonna dive in and we're gonna see what happens.
Okay. Roll me a. Sorry, I had to go grab my paper. A strength athletics check. It has a DC of 12
That's a 10.
total.
Yep.
Okay. You make it across, but you are now suffering 1 level of exhaustion.
Okay.
And suffering 1 level of exhaustion means that you will make rolls with disadvantage. Where's my form here? Oh, where'd you go?
Okay.
Sorry, I lost my notes here. Where'd my notes go? Oh, there it is. So having one level of exhaustion means that you have disadvantage on all ability checks.
Got it.
All right. Um, okay. So, uh, actually, you see some splashing in the water, and then you see footprints come out of the water, but you don't actually see
Okay.
Emerald. She's still invisible.
Like lots of heavy breathing.
Okay, so how do you want to approach these stones? You're going to sneak up head on?
I still think we should kind of circle to the side and maybe use. Is there a stone that we can use to mask our approach?
There are some rocks. I mean, you're small, so you can probably stealthily move around. Um,
Okay.
there are large tufts of like grass, these really tall sort of beach grasses. Also, this is a very duny area, so the line of sight is not exactly perfect, right? So
Okay.
I don't think you'll have a problem finding a stealthy space until you get close to the stones, right? So when you're thinking about standing stones, the area around the standing stones is flat, and it's a 30, roughly 25 or 30-foot diameter set of stones here, and for probably 10 or 15 feet around those stones, there is no cover there because it's a built structure that was specifically put in this clearing.
Okay.
And the
So
four figures that are holding hands are like in the center of that wider
they're
circle.
right, they're in the center uh, of the stones themselves. So the stones make a roughly circular pattern, and then there's 10 or 15 feet on the outside of that is also clear, and everything inside is clear, and the figures are inside the standing stones, inside the perimeter of the standing stones. And there was also something etched into the ground where that standing stone, where that setup was, that the group saw before the people were there.
Okay. So I have an idea for disrupting them. I can cast Gust of Wind, which will make them have to do a strength saving throw or get pushed 15 feet away from me,
Hmm.
which will at the very least make them stumble and break their formation.
Sure, for
If
sure.
even just one of them fails their strength saving throw. It does affect everyone though, so that means anyone who wants to get in close can't, as long as I've got Gust of Wind up.
Okay. And I could also try and cast sleep and catch as many as possible.
I would suggest keeping the sleep spell for the crabs, because those are probably gonna come at us as soon as we start disrupting them.
Hmm.
And if you took out the crabs before with a sleep spell, that's probably going to work better. Though if you wait until everything is as close as possible, you can probably maximize the effect.
Are you going to try to do your dancing lights trick?
I don't know, because if we start attacking, the crabs are going to come to us anyways. I don't know if we want them to leave and then come back, or if we just want to try and control them via sleep spell when they spot us and start rushing us.
Well, now that we're closer, can we see any more details of the figures, what they're doing, what the writing is on the stones?
So, how close do you want to get?
Close
They're
enough that we're still like kind of in the dunes and the brush, but not in that clearing yet.
so like edge up on our bellies, kind of up to the
Yeah.
top, and just peer over the edge.
Like 100 feet or so.
Okay. So you do see the etchings, and the issue is you can't see them close enough. It's writing, so you can tell that it's writing, but it's sort of like seeing a street sign from too far away. You know that that street sign says something on it or has a symbol on it, that when you get closer you'll be able to see it, but the resolution is too low because you're too far away.
Okay.
So you're going to have to be a lot closer to read what it says.
Do the figures appear to be doing anything different? Are they still joining
Uh,
hands?
well, so roll me a perception check.
Oh, not good. Let's see. Six total.
You are so focused on trying to make sure that Imran is near you and not making too much noise, and that you're being quiet enough that you don't notice any difference in what they're doing inside the.
Are they chanting or anything?
They sound like they're humming.
Humming. Okay.
Yeah. If Marcel and Khonnos want to give me a perception, or if Imran wants to give me a perception. So Axley didn't
Yeah.
see anything, but the rest
I
of you
rolled a
can.
13.
Okay.
3.
12.
Okay, so Imran and Marcel, you notice that they are humming, and they are humming in harmony with each other. So one of them is sort of low, and one of them is an octave higher, and one of them's an octave higher, and one of them's an octave higher, but they're in perfect harmony in the same key. And the one who had come in, the fifth one who had come in later, is actually he or it has a tablet in front of it, and it's mouthing something but not saying anything. And you notice that its hands are crab claws, but its face is human, but it has it's almost like half of its face is crab, and so it's having a hard time sort of mouthing these things because it doesn't have a human mouth anymore. Its mouth is half human, half crab, and the structure of a crab's mouth is much different from the structure of a human mouth. And so it's not actually saying words, it's mouthing something, and it's holding a piece of coral tablet with its claws. It's kind of precarious, actually, almost as if it's not used to holding it. It's having a hard time balancing the tablet on it, on its claws. And every once in a while, it glances up and looks at the other four that are there. And you cannot see their faces yet. Their hoods are, the cowls of their cloaks are down far enough that you don't see their faces, but you suspect they probably also are some kind of a weird crabby human mixture.
This is so strange.
So are we
I'm
going to
starting to
disrupt
get
these guys?
worried. Yeah, I think I'm starting to get worried if we let them continue that things could get
Me
really bad
too.
for us. And plus, that may be the missing tablet that we need.
And I think the only thing going in our favor is the fact that they seem to be having trouble actually performing the ritual because they're crabby. Which is probably what's making things not go their way, but we should probably make it even harder for them sooner rather than later.
Yep.
I
Oh,
agree.
yeah.
I think I could disrupt them pretty quickly with a minor illusion, and then we could spring on them.
Okay. So
Okay.
we want to crawl up to the edge of the dune they're on, which is like 30 feet away from them approximately, right?
Yeah, I think so.
If you
Or-
come up to the edge, you're probably about 15, 20 feet away from the stones, and they're inside the perimeter of the stones, which is about 30 feet circular.
That's my range for minor illusions, 30 feet.
So you'd have to get even closer to do the illusion. Because the other thing we can do is once, like, I can get up to the very edge of the dune and throw the gust of wind into the center. Because them holding hands is not going to be more than 10 feet
Sure.
wide.
Okay.
And that's the width of the gust.
Okay, that sounds good.
Does that
And
gust keep going, or is
it's
it
a concentration for a
concentration?
minute.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I can
So
keep it, and I can change the direction if I want to.
okay, and so your plan is to keep it going, or to
As much as possible, just keep it going until um, they stop or we get into combat with them.
okay, okay. So that's what Marcel is going to do. What's Khonnos doing?
Khonnos will be by Marcel, about the same distance to the figures, and is rolling up his sleeve and is getting ready to cast Eldritch Blast.
Okay. Are you going to target a particular one?
At this point, I think I'm going to hold it and see anyone that's able to stay standing after Marcel does the gust of wind and keep their footing. That's who I'll focus on.
Okay. Axley.
I'm gonna try to catch the crabs in the sleep spell.
Okay. So, they're on the other side, so you're going to have to sneak around because you guys came in from the east.
From the east.
How far away are they?
I mean, they're probably 50, 60 feet away from you right now. So, but you'll have to sneak around
Okay.
because it's as the crow flies 50, 60 feet, but that would mean you'd have to go through the center of the standing stones. I don't think you want to do that.
Okay, well, sleep has a 90-foot range. So
Oh,
just
okay. So the thing is that it's a cone. Is that a cone or what's the?
it's just
So
an area of effect. It's
yeah.
20
So
20 feet of a
square.
point. So it's
right.
40. So it's 40.
So here's the
feet.
problem: is that those creatures are in between you and the crabs. So when you roll your sleep, it's going to affect any creature in that area possibly, which means it might not affect the crabs. It might affect the crab people.
Well, I just pick a point within 90 feet, and then
Oh, you pick
anything
an
within
origin
that 20
square.
foot.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's fine with me. Okay.
Okay.
Imran, what are you doing?
I'm going to stay put, and just kind of hold until something happens.
Okay. So, I mean, I'm assuming that you guys planned this before you snuck across. So, are you going to do it in order, or are you all three going to hit at the same time? So is Marcel going to cast the wind spell at the same time Axley's casting the sleep spell at the same time that Khonnos is going to shoot off an Eldritch Blast, or are you going to sort of do one thing, wait, do another thing, wait, do another thing, wait?
I think the best option is to have the gust of wind and the sleep spell happening at the same time, since they're different targets. And then we wait and see who stays put for the Eldritch Blast to go off.
Okay.
And then in that case, I'm gonna hold a thunder wave.
Okay.
And kind of see who else is also standing.
Okay. So Marcel, your gust of wind, what's the is it a dexterity save or a strength save?
It is a strength saving throw.
Okay. And what's your spell save DC?
13.
Okay. Strength with a DC 13. Okay. One failed. I'm doing the four that are humming. Second one also failed. Third one succeeded. The fourth one failed. And now let me do the main one that's trying to read the tablet. Failed. So all but one of them failed. So what's the effect?
Yeah, they get pushed 15 feet away from me in the same direction that the wind is going.
Okay. How did you want to push the wind through the stones?
I'll position myself between two of the stones and just have the gust go through the stones basically towards the other side.
So like, but from the south to the north or from the east to the west? Or...
I think we were all approaching from the east, so
Okay.
from the east towards the west.
Okay. Okay, so as you cast the gust of wind, oh, actually, Axley, go ahead and roll your hit points for your sleep spell.
Oh yeah. Okay. 5d8.
Roll high.
Yes,
Please.
roll high.
15. Good so far. 15, 16, 17, 23, 31, I believe, which is my 5.
Pretty good.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, I got 7 and 2 8s. This is pretty good.
All right. What'd you get? 30,
31.
31? Okay. 3 of the 4 crabs do that thing that you saw them do last time. They sort of, their legs straighten out, lifting them as high as possible off the ground. And they stand like that for about 10 seconds, almost as if they're listening for something, and then they sort of plop to the ground and squish out as they go. But the 4th one does not. It's still sort of rummaging around, seemingly unnoticing what's happening. So here's what happens with the gust of wind. The wind suddenly rushes through the set of standing stones, and 3 of the 4 that were holding hands are ripped apart from each other. 2 of them actually still holding onto each other, but they get pushed. One of them slams into one of the standing stones, and the other one goes through the gap between 2 standing stones, falls down. The 3rd one actually goes almost in the same direction as where the one that had the coral tablet was. That he almost runs into him, dodges at the last second, but falls down and slams into one of the standing stones. And the one that had the coral tablet actually throws his arms up, and the coral tablet flies out of his hand, crashes onto the ground somewhere beyond your vision. And because the gust of wind hits it, takes it, he flies back, hits his head on the standing stone, and crumples down to the ground.
Okay.
And now we need to roll initiative because now they know you're all there.
And I was shooting at the one who was still left standing.
Okay. Go ahead and take that shot. Do you have to roll an attack roll or is it a save?
It's an attack roll. 15 on the dice. 21 to hit.
Okay, that hits.
That is it. 6 points of force damage.
Okay.
And instead of like a blast of energy, it basically just like a little hole in space opens up near him, and a purple and black looking octopus tentacle lashes out and swats at him.
Smacks him across the face.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right, so roll some initiative.
16.
20.
5.
3.
Yes.
You win.
I rolled a 1.
Ugh. I rolled a 6, but I have a -1 initiative.
Listen, I'm really concentrated on the gust of wind, okay?
Yep.
You did your part. It's fine. I'm still lacking contribution here, so I'm about to get my other dice. This is not working out well.
Okay. What did Khonnos get?
20.
And Axley?
16.
And Imran
5.
and Marcel.
3.
Okay. Well, the crabs got a 6.
Mhm.
My dice aren't working out for me either very much.
That works perfectly for us.
Even playing field.
So Khonnos, here's the scene. Oops. Sorry, dropped my pencil. Khonnos, here's the scene. There are now 4 crabmen on the ground. 2 of them ran into standing stones. One of them ran between standing stones and tripped and is now on the ground outside of the standing stones. One of them is standing inside the standing stones, but just got slapped in the face by your eldritch tentacle, which sounds great. You don't know where Imran is because she's invisible, but you can see. I mean, you have you have knowledge of where Marcel and Axley are.
Okay.
And there is one other giant crab now. You see that the 3 that Axley put to sleep are still down. There is one now that is walking toward the individual that fell outside of the standing stones.
Okay. So the leader, you said he lost his grip on the tablet and that flew off somewhere.
Yep.
Did I see where that landed?
In the dune, in the sand beyond the stone circle.
So it's on the other side of the circle from me.
Right. So the wind is still actually going, and
Okay.
it got grabbed by the wind and pushed.
Okay. I kind of want to get that. Is there a way I can move around the perimeter of the circle to where the tablet is?
Sure. You'll
that landed?
be exposing yourself to the crab and the people inside that could see you. The people inside the standing stone that could see you.
I'm going to go for it.
Okay.
Because if they don't have that, they can't, presumably can't complete the ritual.
So it's going to take you 2 movements to get there.
Can I use my action to dash and get there in one turn?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
I will do that.
Okay. Roll me a intelligence investigation check.
Okay. 16.
Okay. You find it. It is in pieces.
Ooh.
You will have to gather the pieces.
Oh no.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Bad feeling about that.
Mhm.
Axley, what are you doing?
Okay, well, I'm going to fire an arrow at the crab. I think that's to
Okay.
make sure it's not going to come after us.
So the crab is going to have partial cover because it is on the other side of the stones. So you don't
Okay.
have a direct line of sight to it right now.
Okay. Would I be able to move from my position to get a better shot?
Probably, but you would have to expose yourself to anyone else near or in the stones.
Okay. Well, at this point, I think they kind of suspect that we're here, so probably worth doing to be able to take that out. So I'll do that. I'll move
Okay.
first to try to maneuver.
So do you want to try to? So one other thing, that gust of wind is still going. So if you shoot an arrow through that, it
Yeah.
can have trouble getting through that gust.
It is
So
10 feet wide and 60 feet long. So if you go to one side of it, maybe that would work.
Is
Like,
the
I don't-
crab in that direction? Is it
So
obscured by the wind?
so basically, if you imagine a circle and there's a 10-foot wide bar going through it, that's the gust of wind.
Mhm.
And at the end of that, so at the beginning of that gust of wind is where Marcel is standing, right? If you go around to the other end, that's almost where Khonnos is, actually.
Okay.
So you could actually go over by Khonnos and
Okay.
get a good view of the crab.
Yeah, I'll do that.
So go ahead and take your shot.
Okay. I rolled a 14, and then I add is that a dex modifier for a bow?
You add your proficiency and your dexterity modifier for a ranged attack.
Okay, proficiency is +2, so that makes it a
Correct.
16. And then where would I find the ranged attack?
Well, so you're making a ranged attack. So you roll your d20 and then you add your proficiency, which is +2, and you add your dexterity modifier.
Dexterity modifier. Okay, so that would be 19 total.
Okay, that hits.
And sharp bow is 1d6, which is 6 plus I get I don't think I have a strength. I have no
You
strength
add your
bonus.
dexterity modifier to your,
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So that's 9.
so 9 damage. Okay. You see your arrow go into the body of the crab, and when it enters, it slows down a lot, and it's now sticking sort of halfway out of the shoulder, if you will, of the crab. It's kind of hit the top of the crab's shell, but it's went into it and it's kind of sticking in it. And as it went into it, you saw a little sort of jet of nasty goo stuff fly out the other direction as the arrow went in.
Okay.
And then anything else? Do you have a bonus action or anything that you want to do?
See, I don't think I have any
Okay.
good bonus action spells, so no.
Okay. So the next thing that happens is the crabs get to go. So, the two individuals that were thrown out of that were thrown. Okay, let me start over. There were 3 of the 4 individuals that were holding hands that got thrown to the ground. One of them flew between the stones and is now standing outside of the stones. One of them was still standing up but got slapped in the face. 2 of them had fallen down after hitting stones, and the leader had hit the stone and fallen down. Everyone who fell down stands up. Okay. And they are going to look around, and I need a stealth roll from everyone.
Do I get advantage if I'm invisible still?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, because you're still invisible.
God. That's not better.
21.
Yeah, that's a 7.
I'm kind of standing there throwing wind at them.
I got a 20.
Who got less than a 19?
Me.
Do I still get stealth? Because like I'm just standing there
Yeah,
with the spell.
it's more of an opposed roll to see if they can actually locate you. It's not about you
Okay.
trying to hide.
All right, so that would be a 16 for me.
Okay. So only Khonnos and Axley got more than a 19. Okay. The crab that was holding on to the coral tablet stands up and you see him kind of rub his face, and he looks around for a second, and he looks over and he sees Marcel sort of, concentrating on keeping that wind going. And
Which, by the way, says each creature that starts its turn in the line has to give me another strength saving throw or get pushed back again.
okay.
I'm not
15.
sure who-
What's your spell save DC?
13.
Okay, so he made it, and he let me see for a second. He points at Marcel, and sorry, I just gotta check something.
He's just pointing. That's all he does, right?
He points to you, and he opens his mouth and you hear in your mind, and you're not sure if it's actually an audible sound or if it's if it's just in your mind. You can't tell at this moment because he's actually moving his mouth as well. You hear the word desist, and I need you to make me a wisdom saving throw. And the spell save DC is pretty low, or it's a 13.
18.
Okay. You feel that he is trying to force you to stop casting your spell with his mental power.
Great,
But-
he's a caster.
But it doesn't work. So he notices that it doesn't work, and he stops pointing at you, and he starts looking around on the ground, probably looking for the tablet. And then that's the end of his turn. The other crabs, one of them is still standing up, the one that got slapped, and he is so in the wind then. So he, I think, failed his spell save DC. He gets pushed out. He gets pushed out toward Khonnos, clips the standing stone as he goes, and takes some damage. He was number 4. Okay. The caster, or sorry, the caster. The you said he's a caster, so that's in my head. The the crab that was outside, that is no longer in the wind because he got pushed out through the standing stones. That is relatively close to Khonnos and Axley. He stands up and he approaches them. And let's find out which one he approaches. He approaches Khonnos, and he holds his arms up, and you see that he has crab claws as hands. And he makes a motion as if he's going to try to clamp your arm in his crab claw. And I rolled a 17. What's your AC?
15. It hits, and he takes 10 cold damage.
Okay. He takes 10 cold damage.
After he does damage to me.
Yeah. That hurts him. And that's the armor of Agathis, right?
Mm-hmm.
Here's what he does. He tries to clamp down on your arm and compresses it as hard as he can with his claw, and you take 6 damage, and you are grappled.
Okay.
And the other crabmen are subject to rolling saves, and they both fail. So when they fail to save again, Marcel, do they get pushed another 15 feet?
15 feet, yep.
Okay. They are about to be outside of the standing stones. They are spending their entire turn trying to keep their balance and not fall down and not hit the stones. And then it is Imran's turn.
Okay.
Imran summons a small black cat.
Where am I in relation to the two that are still in the wind?
You're outside of the standing stones. You are to the east of the stones,
Okay.
and they are inside the stones still. The ones that got pushed out, there are two inside the stones. The ones that got pushed out are on the other side. They're on the western side. Khonnos
Okay.
and Axley went sort of north and above
Yeah.
and are sort of on the western side now with the crab and the other two people.
Okay. Can I use my 30 feet of movement to get close enough to cast Thunderwave on the two that are still inside the stones?
Yes, you can do that. It would probably, so there's a chance it could knock down some of the stones, depending on where you cast it, and also it's probably going to hit the two that are on the other side that are out of the stones as well, because it has a 15-foot cone, right? Is that correct?
15-foot cube, yeah.
A cube. Okay, so yeah, it probably will definitely. So, depending on where you want to be, it could take out some of the stones as well.
Can I just be like in between the stones enough that it wouldn't?
So you can stand in between the stones on one side, say on the eastern side, or sorry, the eastern side. But
Okay.
then there's a third. Then there's a So you could probably do a 15-foot square inside the diameter.
Yeah.
I was thinking if you wanted to hit as many people as possible, you could actually position yourself so that you hit, excuse me, all four of the five of them. But if you want to just hit the two that are inside, that's fine too. Or sorry, the three that are inside.
Yeah, I think I'm just gonna go with the two that are inside currently, so I don't damage any of the standing stones.
Okay. So, you're going for two that are inside, or the three that are
Yes.
inside? Sorry, there's three inside. There's the two regular ones and the leader guy. And then
Can
there's,
I hit all three of those?
yeah, you could try to hit all three of those. And there's two outside that are not the leader guy.
Okay.
Okay. So, I believe that's a dexterity save that they have to make. Is that correct?
Constitution.
Constitution save. Okay. Okay. So the two regular non-caster crabmen. The first one rolled an 8. What's your spell save DC?
12.
Okay, it failed. And the second one rolled a 13, so it made it. And then here's the leader guy. 18. So one of them totally failed. So go ahead and roll me the damage.
9.
Okay. Oops. All right. So and then the other two take half. And then it pushes them 10 feet. Is that correct?
Yes. We're just shoving these guys all over the place. It's fine.
Okay. The caster once again gets pushed back into the stone that he's standing in front of. Okay. He is not happy about that. And the other two get knocked to the ground and pushed to the edge of where they're almost outside of the standing stones.
Okay.
And then it is Marcel's turn.
Can I use a bonus action?
Sure, absolutely, yes. What would you like to do?
How far away currently is Khonnos?
How long was the gust of wind, Marcel?
60 feet.
Okay, so Khonnos is outside of that range.
Okay.
So Khonnos is probably about 30, 40 feet from you, maybe. What is it that you want to do?
Spiritual weapon. I want to cast something over there so I can maybe hit the one that's grappling him.
Okay, what's the range on that?
60 feet.
And you can cast it as a bonus action?
Yes.
And I think you have to concentrate on that, correct? After?
No.
No, you don't.
Nope.
Nope. That's cool.
That's why I love that spell.
Yep.
Spiritual weapon is the best.
I am a fan of it so far. This is the first time using it.
I only have a handful of spells, and I already have 2 that require concentration.
Good.
So, okay, what form do you want your spiritual weapon to take?
That's a good question.
So you are the Lightning Queen, right?
I was gonna say, can I just make it like a big lightning bolt?
Absolutely. I don't see why
Nice.
not. That sounds awesome. What color is it?
It is like a blinding whitish yellow.
Okay. There is a humongous natural lightning bolt that appears right next to Khonnos.
That's not terrifying.
It gets an attack when it summons, doesn't it?
I think so. I'm reading it right now. Yes, you make a spell attack, a melee spell attack against a creature within 5 feet of the weapon.
Ooh.
It will take force damage equal to 1d8 plus your spell casting. But I'm going to change it. It's not going to take force damage. It's going to take lightning damage
Nice.
because your spiritual weapon is a lightning rod.
Nice.
So roll me a spell attack, and this is on. Are you attacking the crab or the crab man that's holding on to Khonnos?
The crabman that's holding on to Khonnos.
Okay. Go ahead and roll me a spell attack for that.
10.
What'd you get? 10?
Yep.
Is that what you rolled, or is that your everything all
I rolled
together?
an 8 plus a 2 is a 10.
So your spell attack should be your proficiency plus your spell ability modifier.
So I have a 2 spellcasting ability modifier, so plus another 2 for proficiency?
Correct. You're always proficient casting your own spells.
Okay. Then 12.
Okay. Well, then that hits. Didn't hit with a 10, see. Okay, so that was the one that just got burned with the armor as well. How much damage does it do? 1d8 plus
1d8.
your spell casting ability modifier. Go ahead and roll me the damage.
That is 5.
Okay. Khonnos, you're standing there with the big creature with your arm in its claw, and all of a sudden, a giant lightning bolt comes down and goes and hits the thing right in the shoulder, and it like seizes up and it's shocked for a moment, and it goes ah, but it does not die.
Okay.
But that was fantastic. Marcel, you see that as well. And also, by the way, for everyone, you didn't know where Imran was until all of a sudden
That's right.
she
Yeah.
showed up and cast Thunderwave, knocking down the people in between the stones, and then made a lightning bolt appear next to Khonnos.
I'm liking being a Tempest cleric.
All right, so I don't like casters. Casters spell trouble, and also he's like the main boss. So I'm going to keep concentrating on Gust of Wind, but I am going to send a Chaos Bolt at the main dude.
Okay.
I have a cat in the way. So that's going to be, that's 11 plus 5, 16.
That hits.
So he takes 2d8.
Ooh, ouch.
Yeah. Two d8 damage. That's ooh.
That sounds like a lot of damage.
13.
Okay.
And I rolled an 8 and a 5. So we'll make that thunder damage. Sorry, lightning damage.
Okay. I sense a motif here.
I actually only get to choose between the two numbers I rolled for the damage type, but I
okay.
happen to roll an 8 and a 5, which is lightning and thunder. So I was like, okay, lightning it is.
Nice. He also gets shocked all of a sudden with a giant lightning bolt. But this lightning bolt doesn't come from the sky. It comes from Marcel's hands. And that leads us back to Khonnos.
Okay, I'm still grappled.
You are. You can escape with either an acrobatics or an athletics check. The DC is 12.
Okay. Yeah, I will try to escape from the grapple. I rolled exactly a 12
Okay.
acrobatics.
So you rinse your arm out of the crab's claw.
Mm-hmm.
What else are you going to do?
Is that an action?
That is your movement.
Oh, okay. Okay. If I attack him adjacent with Eldritch Blast, I'm at disadvantage, right?
Yes, because you're in melee.
Okay. I'm gonna go for it.
Okay.
I think I can hit him with this, even at disadvantage. Well, that negates a 20. And I wound up getting an 11.
Okay. That still hits.
Oh, okay. Um, 14 force damage.
Okay. You how does that look when you do that force damage? Like if an outsider was watching that, what would they see?
So again, kind of same as before. Like the sort of purple black tentacle pops out of it, materializes in thin air and just swats the guy, or like grabs him and throws him against something.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So tentacle porn.
Yeah.
Almost. Yeah.
I hope not.
I mean, we'll keep it PG here.
Yeah.
Let's put it that way.
Okay. So that smacks out, and it basically breaks. It does one of those movie style scenes where where somebody sort of takes a person's head and snaps it to the side real quick to break their neck. It does that kind of thing.
Okay.
And the creature drops to the ground. And as it drops to the ground, it sort of does that thing the crabs did. It sort of deflates a little bit, not as much as the crabs, but it deflates almost as if it's desiccating and shrinking. And as it does so, there's this goopy, bluish, nasty stuff that starts leaking out of that creature. And it is obviously dead.
Okay.
And then Axley gets a turn.
So what's going on with the main guy?
So
electrocuted.
So here's what's happening. The main guy got pushed back by a gust of wind, fell down, stood up, got pushed back again, stood up. His coral tablet flew out of his hand. Then he got hit by a chaos bolt from Marcel, which looked like a giant lightning bolt coming out from the side and knocking into him. He had attempted to do something. You're not really sure what it was. All you saw was he pointed at Marcel. The other crab people, 2 of them are inside the standing stones right now. 2 of them are outside, but 1 of them just died. There's also a regular crab outside near you in Khonnos. So right now, in your general area is 1 crab, And then the standing stones, if you want to get access to the other 3 people, you have to go inside the standing stones. Or actually, I take it back. There is one more crab person outside of the standing stones.
Am I within 60 feet of the main spellcaster?
He is inside the standing stones, so you are within 60 feet of him, but you can't see him. There's a stone literally right in between you and him.
Okay. So how would it work if I want to cast Dissonant Whispers on him? Do I need to physically see him, or does he just have to be within the range?
Let me find out. It looks like you don't have to be in visual range, but they have to be able to hear it.
Within 60 feet. Well, how does that work? Because I'm supposed to whisper it. So how do they hear?
Well,
I
it's magic. So basically, it's like
Yeah.
you whispering it into your hand and sending it off into the air, and that's
they're the
going
only
to
ones that hear it.
go towards your one target because only one person hears it.
Yeah. Okay. All right. That's fine. I'll cast that then.
It's like casting message, but painfully.
Yeah. Let's see. He has to make a wisdom saving throw. Okay, here we go. Uh, 15. What's your spell save DC?
Okay. 13.
Okay, so so it's still going to take. Oh no, let's see. He takes half damage. So roll 3d6.
Okay. Oh, not good. 8 total. So he takes half of that.
Okay, so he takes 4. And you see him. Well, actually doesn't see him. Everybody who can see him sees him sort of put his hands to the sides of his head and kind of go, ah. But he doesn't move. He just kind of freezes there like that because he doesn't have to run away. And then it is the crab's turn. So the giant crab and the crab man that are outside of the standing stones are the crab is going to attack Khonnos, and the crab man is going to attack Axley. So the crab man walks up and tries to grab Axley's arm just like it grabbed Khonnos' arm, and probably misses. That is a 9. I'm sure that does not beat your AC.
No, AC is 13.
Okay, so Axley dodges out of the way, and the crab attacks Khonnos, and also probably misses. That's a 12. What's your AC, Khonnos?
15.
Okay. So those two come up and they sort of flail as they move things around and try to hit you with their claws, and it's pretty obvious that they're kind of not more normally moving. They're sort of not as competent as you might expect them to be. If you were facing they move kind of slow and stilted. It's almost as if they can't control their bodies very well. And then there are the main guy and then 2 of the crab people inside. The main guy is going to. He's mad now.
Is he still within the gust of wind?
He is, yeah. I got to make a save.
No
15.
wonder he's mad. 15 saves.
Okay, yeah, he's pretty solid on his feet at this point. Um, let me see. He is going to point at Marcel again, and this time, I think you're gonna have to make a wisdom save again. Yes, please make me a wisdom saving throw with a spell save DC of 13.
18 again.
Ugh. Okay. He obviously is attempting to cast something and does not succeed, but then
I like this dice.
next next to you, a large blue crab claw seems to come from nowhere and attack you, and that is a 13 versus AC. What's Marcel's AC?
15.
Okay. You dodge because you have some kind of weird, amazing ability
I would
to.
say it was the mage armor because my normal AC is 12.
Oh,
Mage armor brings it to 15,
there you
so it's
go.
the mage armor that
It's the
stops
mage
it.
armor. So the crab claw, then maybe it hit you, but it actually,
Bounces off.
bounces off. It doesn't actually have an effect on you. But it's still hanging there in midair, just this giant blue crab claw.
Great.
You have like lightning shooting everywhere and like sea creature appendages.
This is getting some really
It's just a
Pirates
giant
of the
squid
Caribbean.
ball.
And the other two, there are two other regular crabmen. They have to make saves. They both fail their saves. They've fallen down again. They tried to stand up, but they're in the gust of wind, so they've fallen down. They're now crouching down inside the. They're trying to get out of the gust, and they're crouching down on the ground, sort of behind some of the standing stones. And then it is Imran's turn.
Okay. Do I have to cross through the gust of wind to get to the caster?
Yes, because the caster is still in the gust of wind.
Oh, that's right. Okay. Well, I guess firstly I can move my spiritual weapon. I'm gonna attack the crab that's attacking Axley. So if I can move that over there to attack that one.
You can move over there. If you go around, so you're not going to stay in the stones.
I think she meant spiritual
My
weapon.
spiritual weapon.
Yeah, you can do that.
Okay.
Okay, so make me an attack.
That is another 12.
Okay, that's going to hit. And your damage.
That's a 10.
All right. It gets hit by. Were you attacking the crab man or the crab itself?
The crab itself that's
Okay.
attacking Axley.
Okay, so it gets hit with this lightning bolt, and it blows apart. And as it blows apart, as you normally do, you cause one of your comrades to get covered in crab goo. So now and Axley,
Ah,
Khonnos and Axley both have gooey crab pieces. They're kind of glowing a little bit bluish at first, and then that dims, and they just feel like slimy phlegm. And that crab is obviously dead. Is there anything else Emerin wants to do?
Yes, probably.
What would you like to do?
Maybe. I would like to call out to Axley and say, I told you not to poke it. Um, mm, if I run into the wind, I have to make a strength
Yeah.
saving throw.
Correct.
You'd always just thunderwave them.
I know, but I'm debating whether or not I want to use another spell slot because I'm afraid we're gonna fight something bigger than these guys.
Yeah, that's
I'm
fair.
still like really afraid of like a giant crab. Um, I might as well just thunderwave him again. Just do the same thing.
Do you have any
this.
cantrips you can do?
No. No. Unfortunately. Yeah, we'll use thunderwave again on the same 3 if they haven't moved.
So unfortunately for you, the two that were still in the gust of wind just moved out of the gust of wind and are crouching down in front of pillars. So you
Oh.
can either target them or you can target the caster. But you can't get all three.
If they're out of the gust of wind, can I run up to one of them and just melee attack?
They're on the other side, so you'd have to run through
gosh
the
darn it.
gust of
Okay.
wind.
Okay. Yeah, I'll just target the 2 that are hiding.
Okay. What's your spell save DC?
It is a 12.
Okay, so one of them made it, one of them didn't. So how much damage?
Anything? Oh, last paper I have. Yeah. That is 9.
Okay. One of them is crushed against the standing stone that he is in front of. And roll me a percentage dice.
I was afraid of that. 30.
Okay. He gets pushed against the standing stone and it starts to lean, but it does not fall over. But he is crushed against it, and you see stuff leaking out of his mouth and ears and eyes and any other orifice you can see. Marcel.
How's the caster looking with the attack I sent his way last time?
In terms of how damaged does he look, or
Yeah.
he is pretty beat up.
Okay.
He's pretty beat up.
Okay.
He looks pretty disheveled. I mean, he's beleaguered right now.
All right. So I think we've gotten the most use out of the gust of wind that we could. So I'm going to drop concentration on gust of wind.
Okay.
So it doesn't bother the others on our side. And he's on the... I'm not going to be able to reach him. So I will just frostbite I'm gonna use frostbite on him.
Okay.
That's a Constitution
Save.
saving throw on his
Okay.
part.
All right. So he probably failed. Yeah. A 5. That failed.
Yeah, that fails. I only rolled 2
Okay.
damage,
So he takes 2 damage.
and he has disadvantage if he tries to make any weapon attack rolls.
Okay. All right. Anything else you'd like to do?
Yeah, I'm going to move away. I'm gonna move so that I'm hiding behind one of the stones. So basically, break line of sight with the caster.
Okay. Khonnos.
Okay, so the crab that was next to me got blown up last turn.
Yeah, so the crab is dead. One of the crab men is dead, but there is still another crab man. He is standing next to Axley, so you can easily take like one step and reach him if you want.
Yeah, I'll move a little closer to that one and use Eldritch Blast to swat him away.
Okay.
Natural 20
With disadvantage.
with disadvantage.
You're in melee range.
Okay. I mean, plan was to still be able to use get close, but not like melee range.
Oh, okay, so you're gonna have to take a step back then.
Okay. Yeah, I'll do that. So
That's fine. So
Thank
natural
you.
20. So
natural 20. Yeah.
how much damage?
So for crits, do I roll 2 damage dice, or how do you do crits?
2 damage dice. Add your modifier once.
10, 17 total.
Okay.
Does that mean it does double damage effectively, or a chance to do double?
Right. So Axley, I hope you weren't planning on having clean clothes for
Oh dear.
very long, because this crabman also explodes out and leaves a bunch of bluish goop on you before it fades away, falls down and desiccates, and everything else leaks out of it.
So basically, you're saying if I play a musical instrument, I'm Blue Man Goop?
That's right. Yes, Blue Man Goop. If you can find the island of Las Vegas, you're going to be a very rich
Perfect.
halfling. So Axley, unless Khonnos has something else.
No.
Okay. Axley, what would you like to do? There are now no
So-
immediate threats around you. All the immediate threats are inside the standing stones.
Yes, and the leader is still in there, right?
He is still in there, and one other crabman is alive in there, crouched
Okay.
down.
I'm just going to shoot an arrow then at the leader, since the wind is no longer going.
Okay, you'll have to move to a place where you're in between 2 of the standing stones so that you can actually get a good shot off. There's a stone in between you and him right now.
Okay, yeah, I'll move.
Roll me an attack roll.
Oh, 8 plus proficiency bonus makes it 10, and then plus dexterity 13.
Okay, that hits.
Okay,
Barely.
barely. And what's it? 1d6. Ooh, 6 again, plus
Plus your dexterity
Was it-
modifier.
plus 3, 9.
Okay. Axley steps into a gap. Imran, you see this. You see Axley step into a gap between 2 of the standing stones. Turn his bow toward the leader who is now looking for Marcel because Marcel moved. And Axley shoots an arrow and it goes right into the eye socket of the caster's left eye, and he
I'm gonna
crumples.
shoot my bow holding it horizontal gangsta style.
He crumples to the ground.
Turn it sideways.
He does not explode out or leak goop. There is only one more left, and it is cowering and sort of taking the fetal position as it sits in front of the standing stone. It technically is the crab's turn, but it's literally doing nothing else. So next would be Imran and then Marcel. Are you going to attack it, or what are you going to try to do?
I say we capture and interrogate. Honestly, we can get more information out of him if he's alive.
I agree.
We have some rope.
Okay.
We need to bring something back as proof we were here,
Yes.
anyways.
Yep.
Better live things than piles of goop or whatever's on Axley.
Okay. So you want to tie him up?
Yep.
Okay. Whoever's tying him up, roll me a sleight of hand.
Would that be me? That's probably a bad idea because my
It's-
dex is.
It's whoever wants to do it.
Not me.
I'm pretty good with knots.
Go for it.
Go for it.
All right. So it's a dex roll. Is that what it is?
It's
Sleight
a
of hand?
sleight of
yes.
hand check, so it is
I also
dexterity.
have a level of exhaustion, so that wouldn't be
Oh,
good.
Right.
Ooh,
Can I help? Can I aid in the?
Sure. Yes, you can aid
Okay.
by holding the thing's arms close together and all that.
Okay. Does that give me an advantage? Because otherwise I rolled a 3.
Yes, you get
Yes.
advantage.
Okay. All right. Oh, 17. That's better. Plus
'Kay.
3, so 20.
So 20. Okay. Okay. So you tie him up. Then what do you want to do?
Probably
Did
gather
we do that amount?
the probably gather the remains of the
Tablet.
tablet.
Okay.
I'll gather that up.
Okay. Roll me roll me another intelligence investigation check.
Natural 1.
Okay.
So 5 total.
So you gather up as many pieces of the coral tablet as you can, but it's pretty obvious that some of it shattered into small enough pieces that there's no way to get them or put the thing together. So you've got about a
any
half of a
Is it
page.
legible or no?
You've got about half of a page of ritual instructions.
Okay.
Can I go over and search the spellcaster guy and retrieve my arrow?
Sure. If you really want that arrow back.
It's an arrow.
Covered in goop. You're gonna have to clean it. The spellcaster did not turn into goop like the other cult
Correct.
crab people. Interesting.
So while they're all kind of off doing their thing, can I get a good look at the guy that we captured? Is he half crab, half human as well? And does he have crab hands?
Yeah, so he's got human-looking eyes. His
Okay.
entire lower face is crab-like.
Okay.
His arms are entirely crab arms with pincers at the end.
Mm-hmm.
His torso is human. His legs are sort of in the middle between human and crab. His lower legs and his knees are starting to get these weird chitinous plating pieces starting to cover them.
Okay.
It's not like his skin is turning into it. It's more like his skin is growing another set of layers of this stuff.
Can I kind of crouch down and gauge? Is he just absolutely terrified at this point in time?
You can roll me a wisdom insight check.
9.
He's afraid, but
Okay.
you can't tell if he's afraid of you, of the situation, of
Right.
being half crab, half man, of yeah.
Um, like I said, I'm gonna crouch down. I'm gonna kind of just look at him for a second and ask, "Can you understand what I'm saying?" To make a reaction.
He sort of nods, yes. He doesn't say anything.
Can you speak?
He opens his mouth, but it's like crab
That's what I was afraid of.
palps, so no human voice comes out.
Are they
Yeah.
crab-like enough that it's like beast crab, or is it
I
something
was-
so in the middle that
Um, it's his face is in the middle, but you don't know about his mouth parts. You could try your beast talk.
yeah, I want to like get close and try like using the clicking that crabs would use and see if that like if he can talk that way.
Okay. He can give you some rudimentary responses. Like it's obvious he understands that you're trying to communicate with him.
Okay.
Would you like
So we're
to?
gonna have to keep things very
Very
simple
simple.
in terms of answers.
Right.
Um, you guys have any questions for him?
I've got a couple, and I might be able to help communicate with him more directly as well. Let's ask him who he is to start with.
Um, he he he's obviously agitated by that question, and he tries to make a sound, but all that comes out is random clicking.
Okay.
Meows.
Sounds like a cat meowing.
I'm going to use awakened mind to try to communicate with him telepathically.
Okay.
And so I'll say to him,
Uh,
"Don't be afraid. We're not going to hurt you. Can you tell us who you are? Can you tell
so
me who you are?
are you lying to him, or are you telling him the truth?
I'm being truthful. I don't intend to hurt him."
Okay. Now, awakened mind, does he have to what are the requirements of that in terms of who you're communicating with?
It lets me communicate telepathically with any creature within 30 feet of you that I can see, as long as it understands any language.
Okay. What language are you speaking to it?
I'll I'll start with common. If I might shift to Aquan if it seems like he's not able to understand that.
Okay. And so what do you say? You say don't worry, we're not going to hurt you, and then what?
Yeah. And then can you tell me who you are?
Now, if he thinks something, does that go to you? Is that how that works?
Yeah, and I'll explain to everybody. So I can communicate telepathically, as Marcel knows, um, and I'm going to try to have a more direct conversation with this person, and I'll try to get some more information out of him and see what he can tell us. So, and I'll interpret as best I can. And so essentially, as I'm essentially speaking in let's do this. I'll speak in common, and I'll communicate telepathically with him at the same time, just so everybody, the rest of the group can hear what I'm asking him.
Okay. He takes he's startled, obviously. He's like doesn't understand what's happening at first. And after a few moments, he tells you that now when he's talking to you, it's almost like It's almost like a person who's had a stroke, if you know what I mean. Person who's had a stroke in one of the language centers of the brain, they can um, they can start to say sentences, but then sometimes in the middle of the sentence they lose the ability to know the word and just random words come out. So it would be considered very disorganized communication. Okay.
Okay.
But he tells you that he used to be called Lucanius, but he hasn't had that name in a really long time. And at that point, when he tries to tell you how long, that's when it starts going into sort of random. He starts explaining random things like, well, we were on the boat and then we were in the ocean and then we were on the island and then this time passed and then the sun rose and so he tells you things that aren't really understandable after he tells you what his name used to be.
Okay. And I'm relaying to the rest of the group as best I can as he's speaking back to me. All right. What
Sorry,
were
can I get the name one more time?
Lucanius.
Were you
Perfect.
pirates before?
I'll ask him that.
No, no, not pirates. Not pirates. Sailors.
He says they were just sailors, but not pirates.
Wrong crab people then.
I'll ask him, um, what were you and your other friends doing here? And I'll hold up a piece of the tablet and I'll basically ask, what were you all doing here and what were you using this for?
He sees the tablet and he says in in he says as clear as if someone that was speaking English to you right now was saying it to you. He says, "Seek the Howling Gate in the Palace of Mud." And he's staring at the coral tablet.
Okay. Do I see if that's what's written on something that's written on the tablet, or is he just speaking that?
He's saying that the tablet just has pictograms on it,
Right.
very similar to the one that Axley had from the other building.
Okay. He says, "Seek the Howling Gate in the Palace of Mud." Does that sound familiar to anybody?
Is it?
Is it?
Any lore that we can draw upon?
Not in the 2 seconds that you're talking to him. I mean, if you want to, so you're still having this interaction, are you going to sort of start to think about stuff or are you going to pay attention to the interaction, I guess is the question.
My main thing went, does this sound like it could be related to the place that I found?
Hmm. Roll, let's see, what would I have you roll for that? I hate history. I hate the history check.
Me
This
too.
is an issue for a debrief maybe, but there's no memory check. There's history, as if it's all history.
Mm.
Anyway, roll me an intelligence history check,
Okay.
which I hate, but
11.
okay. It doesn't immediately spark a memory for you of
Okay.
the place that you found. In other words, it's not obvious that the place that you found was called the Palace of Mud, or that
Yeah,
anything
so
in there was
no
called the
reference to
Howling
mud
Gate.
or howling
Right,
winds or anything.
right.
Okay.
That
Fair
doesn't
enough.
mean it's not. It just means you're
Yeah.
not. It wasn't obvious if it was.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I'll ask him, what is happening? What has happened to you to make you be like this?
You're still holding the tablet up?
Sure.
He says, "Seek the Howling Gate in the Palace of Mud."
Okay. I'll put the tablet away.
Yeah. I'm gonna, with my arrow, I'm gonna draw in the sand the eye symbol that, and ask if he's ever seen the symbol before.
He takes his claw, and where the symbol has like those triangle pieces that are coming off of the eyeball shaped thing, he draws like a long stem on the, so like where the point is coming off. So if you can imagine, a triangle comes to a point, okay? Triangle comes to a point, and there is a long stem that he's drawn off, and he draws it on everywhere where you drew a triangle. He draws a long, like spine-like stem off of the end of the triangle, sweeping in one direction.
Are they all like pointing in the same direction?
They are. So he draws them so that the spine-like pointy stems, whatever it is he's drawing, is going off to the right. So they kind of come out and then they swoop back to the right.
I'll ask him, what is this? What is this image? What does this mean?
He says, Shamasa, show us your bounty. Shamasa, bring us your bounty. Shamasa!
Okay. I think we should get a move on.
Wait, does he know if there's any more of either crab people or crab things on this island, or the one behind us?
How many more of them? How many more of you are there here?
They left us. There are crabs, but no more like me. They
Are there any
abandoned
big
us.
crabs?
Are there any more very large crabs on either island?
No more like us.
He's the only one of his group left.
Great. Let's take him back, and we can be on our way.
Where did they go? You said they left us, right?
Yeah, I'll ask him that.
He doesn't know. To seek the Howling Gate in the Palace of Mud.
Okay.
Emeren's getting a little impatient, so she's gonna stand up and start looking at the runes on the tops of the pillars.
Okay. You can read what it says. So the standing stones right now, so there are a few things about them. They are dark stones. They are not obsidian, but they are close to obsidian, but they're very dark blue, almost like a very dark cobalt mixture. Cobalt, like the dark blue, not cobalt like the creature. There's a white layer on top that looks like it's made of some sort of marble type structure, not coral, but marble. And there are etchings on the top, on the marble part of the top, across the side. There's also a drawing in the center of the circle, in the center of the standing stone circle. And as you look at it, you notice it's not actually, you thought that it was as if somebody had drawn in the mud, or in the sand with a stick or something. Actually, it's burn lines. And you can read the phrase that is on the white layer, the marble layer of the stones. It says, "From nothing we come, and to nothing we go. From nothing we come, and to nothing we go."
Okay.
And the drawing, the burned drawing in the center, it looks like triangles and some other geometric shapes that seem to be forming a crab-like pattern. But Imran, roll me an intelligence check.
That's not good. Um, sorry. 4.
You think it's probably supposed to form a crab, like a picture of a crab, but it's a bunch of geometric shapes, so it's almost like the burn marks are trying to be like a mosaic pattern, but it's in the ground, so it doesn't really make a lot of sense.
I'm gonna take out my journal and draw kind of roughly what it looks like.
Okay. What's everyone else doing?
Did I find anything searching the body of the main guy?
You find that his body is mostly human. It's only his head and face that has started to transform. And he has a little piece of parchment in his pocket. And the parchment says, Key of Plateaus on it. And it has a drawing, and the drawing is similar to the drawing that actually Imran is drawing on her parchment right now on her journal, because it looks like almost like the drawing that has been burned into the ground. But it has a marking on it that appears to be denoting a particular spot.
A spot on the image?
Mm-hmm.
So if we go look on the image in the ground in that spot,
Yes.
that particular spot, where it corresponds, and search.
Roll me a perception check with advantage.
15 plus perception. 4, so 19.
It looks like a trap door is under that segment of the ground.
Hey, help me with this. There appears to be some kind of a door.
I'll help take a look.
Are you guys leaving Crabman alone?
No.
I'll stay with Crabman.
Okay. Khonnos and Axley easily move enough soil away that they can open the trapdoor. And it is a roughly 5-foot wide opening with a set of stairs going down into the ground.
What I was afraid of.
I'm intrigued.
Someone wanted to keep this hidden, which is a good sign.
So, well, where do we want to go from here? Do we want to go back to the ship? Do we want to explore the other parts of the island? Do we want to look down here? And what do we want to do with this person here, with Lucanius?
Well, taking a look around from here, can we see the other side of this island, or is there still a lot more we don't see?
From where you are, you can see that there's just a lot of bushes and sand dunes in every direction.
We'd either have to take him with us or take the time to get him onto the ship and then come back. Because if we leave him here, he's probably going to just run for it.
And can he do much harm? Is there a reason that we want to keep him in captivity, or do we want to?
Because he's the one we're taking back to Olgrat to show
Yeah.
that we've cleared the island, which I say we did.
Yeah.
So we have other destinations in mind. So I say we take this one back to Olgret, be on our way.
But we might find something of interest down there too.
I agree with we should take him back home. I'm curious about condition. I mean, this seems to be an ordinary person who was, I don't know if it's some kind of disease or curse. I would want to know more about what's happening to him, maybe see if there's a way to undo that.
Yeah. Maybe try convincing him that we can try to look for help by taking him with us, so he's more willing to stick around instead of flee.
I'll ask him, do you want us to take you with us and see if we can find help for your condition, for what's made you this way?
And ask him if he knows what's in the ground.
He is obviously conflicted. He doesn't actually give you an answer. He kind of holds his arms up and he looks at him and he just shakes his head.
Okay. All right. Do you know what's down in that hole there? Is that what you and your friends were trying to find?
He shakes his head no.
He doesn't know.
He says, "Seek the Howling Gate in the Palace of Mud."
What if, I mean, he's tied up. What if we leave him on the beach with
Oh yeah, he's tied up. I guess he couldn't put his claws in front of himself. He could look
I
down
mean,
at
as
his
much
claws.
as he's tied up, so he can't get too far. But like, we could also leave your familiar, keep a watch of him.
We could. I don't know if. I guess we could. I mean, if he
I mean,
tries to run out.
Yeah, at least we'd have a warning of he's trying to run away, and then we can make a decision of do we rush back to stop him, or, you know.
Yeah, and I could see through his eyes for a short distance away. So, but somebody would help me get down the hole if I'm doing that.
Well, you don't have to like look through his eyes the whole time, just because you can communicate with your. So if your familiar tells you, "Hey, he's trying to escape," then you see as long as we're still. What's the distance? 60 feet.
It's 100, I think.
100. Okay. I mean, that's an option.
Okay.
I mean, we've got time, right? If it's earlier enough in the day, and we're not going anywhere, we could just take him back to the ship and secure him in a.
That's the other. What time of like how far in the day are we?
It's probably getting toward the evening, so it's probably 4 p.m. something like that.
So we could just take him back to the ship, rest, and then investigate this place tomorrow.
Well, I don't know. We shouldn't leave it unsecured. Like maybe a couple of us could stay here and rest while a couple take him to the ship, secure him, and come back, and then we go down.
I feel like
we
that's
do
a
that
lot
too.
of wasted time.
How long will that take to go back to the ship and come back?
Takes about a half hour.
Yeah. I mean, but wasted time. We don't have anywhere else to be besides clearing the island, and the more information we can bring back, the better.
Yeah, I don't think half an hour is too much to worry about.
Well, it would be an hour because half an hour to the ship and then half an hour back.
Oh, yeah.
But I mean, there's no hurry in terms of like we don't have anywhere to be.
I mean, you guys might not have anywhere to be, but I do have a destination in mind, and I would like to get there rather quickly.
Yeah.
Getting a little passive aggressive here.
It's just an hour. We're not going anywhere tonight, anyways. We can't exactly, we don't exactly want to sail out of here at night. So we're going to have to wait till the morning, anyways.
So the real question is do you go back to the boat and take him with you and wait the night, or do you go down the stairs first? That's the real question.
Yeah, I'm gonna have a real hard time leaving that hole.
Yeah,
Yeah.
The
what I was
mysteries down there.
suggesting was send 2 back with Crabman to the ship. So we wait an hour. 2 people guarding the hole, 2 people taking our prisoner back to the ship, and an hour later we go down into the hole.
Okay.
I'm willing to stay. I can stay here near the entrance because if I can do a short rest here, I get both my spell slots back.
Yeah, I'll do the same. I'll stay here too, and then plus I want to clean myself off in the water.
Oh, here, let me help you with that. I'll cast Prestidigitation and Goop, Axley, and myself. And Emerin, I think you also got some on you last time.
Probably.
Yeah, this stuff's just nasty to get out, but saves the dry cleaning bills.
So
Do I?
there are stains where the goop was.
Well, that's too bad.
Which doesn't, I mean, usually prestidigitation is like new,
Yeah,
but
that's
Mm.
not great.
Do I have to take a long rest to get rid of this level of exhaustion?
yes.
Yeah. Okay.
So Emerin and I go back to the ship with our prisoner, leave him in the hands of our crew, and then make our way back.
Sounds good.
Do you give the crew instructions with regards to the prisoner?
Don't kill him. Keep him alive. Don't let him escape. He's
Okay.
pretty passive, so that shouldn't be too hard.
I
Okay.
was gonna say, give him a little bit of like water or food or like some kind of sustenance to like maybe calm him down a little bit and assure him that we actually aren't gonna kill him since we killed every other person that was with him.
Yeah, he seems to be more a victim than anything. So, we're just taking precautions, which is why he's tied up anyways.
Yeah, it's more so he doesn't hurt himself.
Okay. And then you go back to the entrance.
Yep.
Okay. Well, it's 10 o'clock. So my question is, do you want to go down into the steps? That's probably going to take about a half hour.
We could always start with that
Fine with
next.
me. You guys are ready to break?
Yeah, I think we can leave that for next
Yeah, that's a good stopping point.
session. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Gonna leave us in suspense.
Yeah.
That's the best way to leave.
Yeah, always end on a cliffhanger of some sort.
Cliffhanger is when Marcel and Emerin get back. Khonnos and Axley are not guarding the
Oh,
entrance.
good.
I'm just kidding. That's not true.
We got bored waiting for you. We took a look ourselves.
Yeah.
There was absolutely no treasure down there.
I was thinking about it. If I stayed, I was gonna take Axley with me and go down there by ourselves. I was really thinking about it.
We preempted that by sending you back to the ship.
I know. I was like,
That's
well,
the one who wants to get out of here as soon as possible too.
So I just want to do a quick roundup. It's 10 o'clock. We're going to hop off of here in just a minute. But is there anything so this was our first sort of bigger combat, and so is there anything that was misunderstood or that needs work, or what are your thoughts about tonight's session, I guess, is the main question.
personally, it's just a little difficult for me because I'm such a visual person.
Mm-hmm.
So like being able to like visualize it in my head like combat where I am, where other people are, where
Hmm.
gusts of wind are. That's a little difficult for me, but it's just going to take a little practice, a little getting used to, and I think I'll be fine.
Okay.
But that'll be something I work on.
I saw that Matt had put something into the Discord thread as a little helper.
Yeah, I put like a little quick little mini
Yeah.
sketch of just like sort of the two islands and the gap between them and where
Hmm.
Oh, that was smart. I didn't see that.
not to scale at
Yeah,
all. But
I don't have
Yeah.
Discord up.
Yeah. So one of the things I can do is I can actually show you guys maps. Um, the issue, obviously, my computer is not. I need to set it up differently so that it can handle this bandwidth a little bit better. I mean, my computer is not actually a crappy computer. It should be handling this much better. So I'm sure it's just a settings issue at this point. And I'm plugged in. I'm not on a Wi-Fi, so this should not be an issue. Um, but because it has been an issue, because it was an issue last time, I did not prep any maps, and because we're mostly trying to focus on podcasting, I didn't. I'm
Yeah.
not. I don't use a lot of maps. Um, but what I can do is uh, I can actually send you or post in Discord some um, a little bit of help, like a sketch or something that doesn't necessarily require the audience to see to understand what's going on, because I'll still be explaining it, but it'll give you the visual sort of idea of what's happening a little bit.
Yeah.
So just a little bit of help instead of, not a full-on, battle map with full color and different things like that, but just
Right.
a real quick, like, here's where things are, here's rough size of things kind of idea.
I thought it was a fairly simple enough combat that and your descriptions and reiterating things
Yeah.
frequently really helped me keep an idea of kind of where things are around me, who's doing what, et cetera, et cetera. And I know I made it a point to say each turn at the start of my turn, try to say, okay, like what's just kind of like assess where I am, what's going on around me, and then kind of take my actions and stuff.
Yeah. Theater of the mind is difficult for a lot of people. So Nina, your concern and your difficulty is not rare, especially because I wasn't giving any kind of visual idea at all. So we'll sort of go. I'll give a little more on that, and try to give a little bit more of a visual helper. So.
I
It's
mean, yeah, like,
interesting on
go ahead.
it's interesting on my end because like up to now I've played mostly on Roll20, so
Hmm.
we've had a lot of like depending on the map for planning things or just moving around and stuff. Um, and I am also a very visual person.
Hmm.
Um, I think it's fine enough in terms of looking at the mental picture, though. I think there might be perhaps because it's kind of hard to tell with just one combat. It
Hmm.
might be a bit longer in terms of how long the combat goes because every single round you have to kind of repaint the picture and
Right.
Yeah.
versus having the map and being able to plan out while everyone else is doing their turn what you're doing depending on how things are looking
Hmm.
visually. But I don't think that's going to come up much until higher levels because right now there's only a handful of things we can each do.
Right. Right. And I think that's a problem we're going to have to figure out how to solve, ultimately. And I know, Karu, you weren't here last week or the last game, and one of the things I
Mm,
mentioned was, I give a lot of flexibility with where things are and what's happening, and I try to explain as best possible. But if there's a misunderstanding, I'm flexible in resetting my vision of what it was to try to make it so that everybody can kind of shine and do the things they want to do. But yeah, as the levels get higher and as the powers get more and more, um, there tends to be this move towards a little bit more tactical thinking because you want to use your
yeah.
your powers and your skills and all that stuff to the best of their ability. So yeah, I think that's something that is going to have to be dealt
I think
with.
it comes up more with this group too because so many of us are casters and
Yeah.
distances and
Hmm.
cones and area effects kind of come into play more than if we had more melee fighters. that
Right.
it becomes important to know where everyone is so we don't accidentally blast someone.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we gotta definitely have to watch out for friendly fire. I'm trying to with the stuff I've currently got. I'm trying to avoid that for
Yeah.
now, but I know that's gonna change at higher levels.
Okay.
Yeah.
No matter what, I'm still gonna continue blasting you guys with goop.
We are in the splash
Cap-
zone.
Yeah.
Captain's prerogative.
Okay. Is there anything else that we need to chat about before? I know we're kind of running long, so I don't want to chat too long, but I do like to sort of get an idea of where everybody's at and how everybody feels after every session.
I just as a group I like that we left got to talk to them afterwards rather than just wipe everybody out
Hmm. Hmm.
because we got
We lost you.
Hey, froze again.
oh I just said I'm glad we left one person alive rather than just go and wipe everybody out because we got a lot more information
Yeah.
that way.
Hmm. Oh.
And you froze again.
He froze.
I wish the tablet hadn't gotten broken, but I'm glad that Marcel was able to knock it out of the guy's hands because that's a great way to shut down a ritual. It's just, hey, well,
Yeah.
if you don't have your ritual book, then you can't really. I hope you have that memorized.
As soon as Sam said it was made of coral, I was like, oh no.
Yeah.
I've seen that touch ground. It shatters.
I didn't knock down a pillar stone though, guys.
Yeah.
I was wondering if you were gonna do like a big stack of dominoes and make all that tip over. I'm like, oh, is she
I
gonna?
was a little worried about it.
Cleric boom boom dynamite. Yeah.
It's kind of hard to do a ritual with standing stones if the standing stones got dominoed.
If they're not
That's
standing
true.
anymore, yeah.
Hmm.
That would have been fun to do.
I'm curious about one thing. So I have like the Eyes of the Runekeeper that says I can read all writing. I'm just wondering, does that apply to like pictographs and hieroglyphics and stuff like that, or does it have to be like actual written language? Because I'm thinking that might help me with some of these,
Yeah.
some of what we're seeing here as well.
I mean, it depends. In this case, it's simple enough that it probably does. I mean, Axley read the two that he has,
Okay.
but it was missing. He has two, but like one of them is missing about a third of it. So, and in fact, he could have read the language that was written in the ship as well. But remember, they had written over it and smeared it, so that's what made it impossible to read. It wasn't that you didn't have a way to read the language or that it wasn't. At first, it wasn't recognizable, but when he did comprehend languages, it became a known. It was a known. Okay, I know what language this is, and now I can read it. But it was degraded. It's like a degraded sample. It wasn't that he couldn't read the letters. It's that the letters were smeared and
Right. It was just illegible.
right and illegible. Exactly. It's like a doctor wrote it.
Sure. And that's one thing I'm noticing and I'm liking is that a lot of us have a lot of us have like similar features. Like he and Axe and I can both read anything. Marcel and Emran have some similar spells. It sounds like, so we'll be sort of able to do some redundancies and kind of back each other up on some areas too.
And we have a Tempest Cleric and a Tempest Sorcerer, so yeah, there's going to be some overlap.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting. It's dangerous. That crab caster should have been a lot more trouble for you guys than he was. I
It's a
had
good
several
thing that
bad
none
rolls,
of
but
us
even
were
if I
rolling
hadn't,
well.
you guys took care of him so easily. I mean,
Was he did he seem to take more damage from the thunder, the lightning, or
no,
was it was just a lot of damage?
it was just a lot of damage compared to his overall HP. Yeah, he was.
Chaos Bolt is scary
Yeah.
for level 1 spell.
Yeah,
that is a fun spell.
Yeah, he was basically getting fried from the inside out.
Yeah.
So he was, yeah,
But
he was
the
in
fun
pretty bad
part
shape.
is if I had rolled two same ones, then I could have bounced it onto someone else too.
Yeah, yeah, that's
That'll
fun.
be
That
fun
is
when that happens.
that is a heck of a fun spell. That's for sure.
speaking of spells, I liked how you were thinking to Sam. You were thinking to use like command to basically turn off a concentration spell. I've never heard of that being done. I never would have thought to do that. So I'm going to remember that now.
Yeah.
I'm
Well,
gonna
it didn't work.
I'm going to add that to my bag of tricks.
Uh-huh.
I mean, there's two ways to do it. You either hit them and hope they lose their concentration that
Right.
way, or yeah, you tell them to stop concentrating on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he's he was trying to he was pretty arrogant, right? So he thought, well, he was still in the I'm the most powerful thing here, so I'm obviously just going to tell you to knock off what you're doing like a little child, you know. But of course that
Yep.
didn't work. So, what is this otter thing in front of me? Stop it, stop it. And then
The
I
funny
like-
thing is, the funny thing is, it was a good thing because like my concentration, my Constitution saving throws are a lot higher than my Wisdom saving throws.
Mhm.
I just lucked out with my dice.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally.
We were all rolling terribly really early on,
Uh-huh.
and then
And then it turned around.
started, and then it was okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And then
I'm not
I was
using those
rolling
dice
pretty
anymore.
bad from the beginning, so
Yeah.
that was pretty bad. So I do want to talk about one last thing before we go, and that is what I said about history checks.
Yeah.
So I feel like, and tell me if I'm like way off base here, but I feel like in and there's so obviously when you guys talk about spells, I'm looking up spells too. Like I don't have everything memorized in my head and all that stuff, but I'm pretty good with the skills and how to finagle them and use them for different things. But I just hate the history check because I feel like it's the catch-all for what do you remember? But then
Yeah.
it's named wrong, right? I mean, it's not a history check, it's a memory check. It's
Memory
a
check.
yeah, like I don't know.
I know in a situation like that when I DM, I may just say, okay, make an intelligence check, or I may say, okay, you can make a history check, but I'm going to make the DC very high if it's
Yeah.
about a really obscure thing. That's
But-
that's one thing about I used to play Pathfinder before I
Mhm.
switched to 5e 5th edition, and that's one thing I do miss from Pathfinder. They were a lot more broad and diverse knowledge checks that you could do. So they had like engineering and geography, so they were much more specifically focused things
Yeah.
rather than just a general history check.
See, for
I
me,
think the idea behind the history check was to basically bring that down so you didn't have to spend more to gain specific history bits.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
like, sure, if you're trained in it, you get a bit of a bonus to it. And otherwise, it's just up to the DM to figure out either DC or maybe give advantage if it's something you're supposed to know about, or something that like that.
See, for me, I actually like that there's a smaller skill list, right? Like I don't need all
Mhm.
of the knowledge skills from Pathfinder. For me, it's more just about the name of it, right? It's like it's not really a history check. Like if she's trying to remember, or if some character is trying to remember a historical fact that they may have once learned, then yeah, the DC should be high, but it's a history check. But if Marcel is trying to remember something from 2 weeks ago, that's not a history check.
I
That's
mean, it's still
what a
in my history, I
yeah.
guess.
Well, I
Well-
guess, but like, could that be,
Insight. It seems like insight would be a better.
or maybe even perception? Like, how perceptive was Marcel? Did they catch all the clues about the place they found, right? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, so I feel like having fewer skills in some ways makes it more flexible, and I like that. But I don't know. I feel like the history check is such a catch-all. It gets too much or something. I don't know. I'm just really thinking out
I
loud.
like the idea of either insight or perception because like it doesn't have to be like you're perceiving right now. It's how perceptive were you at the time, and remember now certain features.
Right.
Like I could see perception working that way. I don't know about insight as much, but because insight is more, I feel more about reading a person or reading a situation. I guess it depends what you're trying to recall.
Right.
If it's about a person or if it's about a place or something.
Yeah.
I mean, the same thing could be said for investigation. Like,
Right. Right.
how well did you investigate it that it stayed in your memory?
Yeah.
or look through books or whatever the case may be.
Yeah, it's just weird. I don't know. Sometimes when you read about it like in the player's handbook or in the DMG, like it makes sense how they describe it all. But then in play, as you see, like in some cases it's sort of like I don't want to just ask for an intelligence check because I don't want you to just have to use your modifier because if you happen to be trained in history or something, then that should be
Yeah.
worth something, right? So it's sort of like I don't want to hobble someone if they have a skill, but at the same time, does it match? I don't know. I don't know. So anyway,
And to be fair, how many people do end up taking history as
right.
like you might as well, if someone took history as a training, you might as well award them the fact that hey, you get a bonus to your
Right.
roll.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
Coincidentally, I am proficient. Khonnos is proficient in history.
Yeah, I am as well.
Although the question is, how did he get that proficiency?
Right.
Did he study or did he cheat?
Right. Whereas Axley is proficient in history because it's his job to be the lore master. So,
Right.
yeah. For him, he studied and he witnessed things.
I'm just proficient in deception, so I can just make you think I know a bunch about history.
Nice.
Just act like you know it all. Yeah, yeah, I have heard that already.
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah. Old news.
Yep. Okay, everyone. Well, thank you very much again for playing with me. I love this game and I love this group. And I can't wait until you guys open that trapdoor.
Or go into it.
Matthew, where can people find you on the internet?
I am at mbridell on Twitter.
Excellent. And Karu, where can people find you on the internet?
At my starseed on Twitter.
And Nina, where can people find you on the internet?
At mdays.
In underscore bays, actually.
Yes. That.
Yes. And David doesn't have to be found on the internet. So you can find him on the internet right here,
That's right.
where we are.
That's
This is
right.
the
And after
place.
watching the Netflix documentary on the social media and how it was used for the election, bad social media.
Yeah.
That's fair.
All right, and I am DM Samuel on Twitter, and you can find me at rpgmusings.com, and you can find me right here on the Don't Split the Podcast Network with DnDeBrief. And thank you for listening, and thank you for your patience amongst my technology foibles. And we will see you for the next episode. Everybody say goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.
All right. And I have to wait for that lag to go. So I have no idea if there's even a stream happening. It says we're live, but I don't know what people are seeing or anything. So
Yeah, I mean now it says thanks for watching.
Oh, all right.
It says there's 3 viewers. So
Yeah, it was going between like 3 and 8. I had Twitch open on the side window just to kind of like make sure things were working.
okay. And were they?
The video was going. There's about maybe a 10-second delay. I had the audio muted just because I didn't want to have
Okay.
two voices in my
Sure.
head, in my headset rather.
Yeah, because I can't, like, my computer's so bogged down, I can't even really, like, see it. Like, it just shows a frozen screen for me. So,
So when are we playing next? When's the next date?
that is a really good question. When is everybody available?